bless this offering that you're about to receive. Thank you for bringing other followers to your church, our home. We love you, Lord, and we need you always in everything we do, and wherever we're at. And we praise you with all of our heart and everything, Lord. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
When did the scars over your heart become your hiding place? When did the stars become so dark you couldn't find your way? The light inside your eyes is fading now, but I'm not gonna give up on you now. Don't be afraid. I know you think you're on your own, but you'll be okay. You don't have to go through it alone. Fall into my arms. Fall into my arms. So let me see the hurt underneath. I'm not a stranger to pain. Cause I believe in what you can be. I'll never turn away. The light inside your eyes is fading out, but I'm not gonna give up on you now. Don't be afraid. I know you think you're on your own, but you'll be okay. You don't have to go through it alone. Fall into somebody else. Fall into somebody else. You're not the one who needs to be strong. Fall into somebody else. See you right where you are. I hear the whisper of your heart. And it's okay to fall apart. I will carry you in my arms. Don't be afraid. I know you think you're on your own, but you'll be okay. You don't have to go through it alone. Fall into somebody else. Fall into somebody else. You're not the one who needs to be strong. Fall into somebody else. It's okay to fall apart. Just fall into my arms.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him, all heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy in the morning, when I rise, in the morning, when I rise, in the morning, when I rise, give Jesus, give me Jesus, give me Jesus. You can have all this world.
Just giving Jesus. Without you alone, without you alone, oh, without you alone, give Jesus, give me Jesus, give me Jesus. You can have all this world. Just give me Jesus. Comes down when I come down, oh, when I come down, give Jesus, give me Jesus, give me Jesus. You can have all this world. Just give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. You can have all this world. You can have all this world. You can have all this world. Just give me Jesus. Just a little talk with Jesus made me whole. Let's have a little talk with Jesus. Let's tell him about our troubles. He will hear your faintest cry. He will answer by and by. Feel it right time. And I know a little fire is burning. Little talk with Jesus makes me right. Sometimes my path seems drear without a red sheet. And then a cloud down behind the light of day. The mist of sin may rise, and hide the starry sky. Just a little talk with Jesus years away. Let's Jesus, let's tell him about our troubles. He will hear our faintest cry. He will answer by and by. When you feel the prayers turning, then you know a little fire is burning. You will find a little talk with Jesus makes you right. Let us have a little talk with Jesus. Let us tell him about our troubles. He will hear our faintest cry. He will answer by and by. When you feel the prayer turning, and then you'll know a little fire is burning. A little talk with Jesus makes you right. Have a little talk with Jesus. Let's tell him about our troubles. He will heal our faintest cry. He will answer by and by. When you feel the prayer turning, and you know a little fire is burning, you will find a little talk with Jesus makes you right. You will find a little talk with Jesus makes you right. You will find a little talk with Jesus makes you right. All because we do not care. Everything to God in prayer. Every trials and temptations. Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find the presence of faithful? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Our weak and heavy laden, come where with the load of care. Precious Savior, still refuge. Take it to the Lord in prayer. To your friend.
put off going to the chiropractor for 4 months. And I went yesterday and I got my money's worth and then some. And so I'm just feeling kind of, so, something I want you to take away from this morning. When God shows us that something needs to be done, it's awfully easy to say, let somebody else do it. Or we say to him, you talking to me? Oh. I want you to pray about some things. Some things happened this week. Something happened this week I never thought I'd ever say yes to this side of heaven. Mary and I agreed to direct a junior high week of camp. The eyebrows went, are you crazy? So, June. And so that's one reason why we posted Lake Springfield Baptist Camp stuff on the Facebook page, so that you can start thinking about who could go. You might also say, well, if I don't have kids or grandkids, you might throw in a couple bucks to help pay scholarship for those kids to go. A week's worth of camp is $290. You go, whoa, have you priced a hotel room lately? And so we're offering you Sunday through Saturday, all lodging, all food, and a week's worth of babysitting service. I'm just throwing that out there, just so that you get an idea of what it is that we're talking about. This thing just shut itself off. I didn't do it. So anyway, we've agreed to that. So they were tickled to death. They didn't have anybody. They didn't know they were going to get. And they're happy that Harmon Park Baptist Church is being part of the faith family that is active, because their faith family amongst American Baptist churches had just basically evaporated. I don't know why, but this thing keeps shutting off. So if you have another one, I would suggest you switch me out, because I know I'm not that fat that I'm shutting it off. Now that I want it to go off, it won't. It's not that you can't hear me. It's just that what we're doing is going out in other places. And we need to have amplification. So I'm going to stick this in my pocket. Maybe that won't work that way. My wife is often hands me a phone and says, look at this, and I touch the phone and it shuts off. So it's not unusual for me to touch electronic things. But anyway, that's a concern. I can't believe we said yes. But I know we were supposed to. There's some other things that we said yes to this week that it'd just be so much easier if we would act like retired people. But you don't find retirement in the Bible. Be thou faithful unto death. It doesn't say be thou faithful until retirement. It says until death. So that's what we're trying to do. And even though it stretches us. This story today is Jesus miraculously feeding people. This is the last section of that chapter 24 in the story. We'll go on to chapter 25 next week. But chapter 24 in the story, the feeding of the 5,000 shows up in all four Gospels. The feeding of the 4,000 shows up in Matthew and Mark. Don't get it mixed up. They're two different things. They're both the same reason and the same Jesus trying to get them to understand who he is. But he did feed. And by the way, we're counting men. Sorry, ladies and kids. It was the feeding of the 5,000 men, which was probably closer to feeding 15,000 people. And it was the feeding of the 4,000 men, which was closer to feeding by the way, if you all will stick around, we're having the feeding of the 40 here, right after the service is over. And we got more than enough. So you won't get a better deal in town, anywhere. So we invite you to stay. Jesus is showing us another aspect of himself. We've watched him heal the sick. Remember the woman who had been sick for 12 years? We've watched him raise the dead. Jairus' daughter, the widow's son of Nain, and Lazarus. And then he's going to do himself later. And we've watched him take charge of the physical elements of this world. He told the wind and the waves to be quiet. They stopped. He walked on water. And now Jesus is in charge of some other things too. The crowds were following him like crazy. I mean, and this is on foot, people. He gets in a boat to get to the other side to try to get away from them, and they get there before he does. They're waiting for him. So my being tired this morning is infinitesimal compared to the tired that Jesus felt. So just get on with it and go on. So Jesus says to the disciples, these people are hungry. Yeah. Some of them have been following him for 3 days. And they haven't had a whole lot to eat. Jesus said they're hungry. The disciples says, yeah, what do you want us to do about it? Jesus said, feed them. With what? Well, go look. You know, a lot of times we just say it. We just kick it out without even thinking about it. And we haven't even looked. We haven't even seen what was available. We haven't even considered how the Lord might want to use us. Some of you probably don't want the Lord using you. It scares you half to death. Well, I'll tell you one thing, you'll quit being bored with your life, and things will get a little more exciting. For instance, this section of the Cooper family decided to get excited this morning. They're not sitting in the back, they're sitting in the front, and I can't hardly handle it. But anyway, just thought they'd get it from a different perspective. Jesus said, what do you have? Well, with the feeding of the 4,000, they found 7 loaves. With the feeding of the 5,000, they found 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And I looked and looked and looked. You know, sometimes you think you know the story and you just look and look and look and you can't find it. I knew there was a little boy involved, but the little boy isn't mentioned till John. He doesn't show up in Matthew, Mark, or Luke. But he does show up in John. Let me ask you this. If the least you could do was give Jesus your lunch, would you do it? He and I had a discussion just before church. We got to quit trying to figure things out. Just let the Lord do them. Get on for the ride and go and enjoy it. Don't try to explain it. Don't try to figure it out. Just do it. It's so easy to say, I can't. Never did anything. I try to do a lot. That's not exactly biblical, but that's one of the things my parents taught me growing up. They didn't want to hear I can't in our household. I can't will get you almost an instant reprimand or worse. It's not that I can't, it's I won't. There's a difference. I don't want to get involved. Our world is the way it is because too many good people shut up and didn't want to get involved. The way evil exists and flourishes is when good people do nothing. Right here in Springfield, there's things that we need to be doing. There's times that we need to stand up. There's also times we need to stand up and just be quiet. I was in a meeting this week, and I just decided going in that I was going to keep my mouth shut. Can't believe that, can you? I decided I was going to keep my mouth shut. And I kept my mouth shut for 6 hours. At one point in the meeting, I stood up over to the side and I just stood there. Well, you know, 6'5" of me standing there just looking intimidates some people. And somebody that I highly respect says to my wife, that I had a quiet, what? I had a quiet spirit about me, and I thought, okay, I'm glad I behaved tonight. You know, sometimes it's better off to keep your mouth shut and appear to be wise than open your mouth and prove you aren't. And sometimes it's just better to be quiet. There's a time to speak and there's a time to be quiet. The other night it was time for me to be quiet. And I was very comfortable in being quiet. It was almost a peace in that. But you all know when I have to say something, I will. It may take me a long time to get there, but when I get there, I get there. So Jesus says, see what you got. He also says, you take care of it. And in one of the gospel accounts, they said, it would take over a year's wages to buy enough bread for all these people, and they'd only get a bite. It's kind of like when you're in a boat with Jesus. You really need to worry about it, even though we do. If Jesus tells you to go shopping, there will be enough. Do you hear me? If Jesus tells you to go shopping, there will be enough. I have literally watched food miraculously enlarge itself. And I knew it because we had enough food for 50 people and we fed 85. And we didn't cut down on the portions. How do I explain it? It happened. And when we got the last person fed, we were out. We didn't have any leftovers. We were stone cold out. I got to lick the pan. That was about all. And I, you know, if you look at me, I can start eating less and licking a few more pans. Anyway, so Jesus took what they handed him. In one case, the 7 loaves. In another case, the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes. And he lifted up toward heaven and prayed to his Father and asked them to bless them and started handing it out. He said, sit them down in groups of 50, all over the side of the mountain. They sat down on the ground and had one of the most bodacious picnic lunches you ever saw. Bread and cheese. Not bread and cheese, bread and fish. You can tell I love cheese. Anyway, bread and fish. And everybody got their fill, it says. It wasn't a little dabble, do you? Everybody got their fill. Now, for some of us, our fill is not quite as much as other people's fill, but everybody got their fill. Jesus didn't do it part way. He did it all the way. And the beauty of the story is, especially with the feeding of the 5,000, you stay out of this. How many baskets full of leftovers were there? Huh? Oh, well, Byron, you just blew my cover. Up there. Why was there 12 basketfuls left over? You ever thought of that? So that every one of those disciples had a basket that was overflowing, and they all knew it was 5 loaves and 2 fishes. They had enough to take to the food pantry, Sarah. They had to each stare at a full basket of pieces of bread and fish. And it's almost like Jesus is saying, see there? See there? I got to admit, we've been feeding on Friday almost every week except for the weeks that we've had winter. We have fed since May. We haven't had a budget, but we've always had food. We haven't had a budget. We've always had food. And we've had it when we needed it. And we've got a freezer that's got food in it. Remember the freezer was big enough to put me in? It's got food in it. this out. More than once I heard, how can we afford to do that? My answer to that is, how can we afford not to do it? Because we're in a city with people who don't even know that Jesus is there, and the only thing they know about Jesus is that he's a swear word. They don't know that Jesus loves them. We need to start doing more things instead of trying to explain it. When people say, why are you doing this? Just say, Jesus loves you. That's all you need to say. Jesus loves you. If we're going to be the hands and feet of Jesus, we need to say, Jesus loves you. That'll make them think. That'll make them ask questions. That'll do more good than me thumping them over the head with the Bible. I didn't like Bible thumpers growing up, and I didn't want to be one. That's why it was so interesting that God decided that I was going to be in the ministry. I didn't want to be a Bible thumper. But there's times I get frustrated if I want to take the Bible and thump you. But I don't want to just beat it into people's heads. I want to make them curious. I want to make them ask questions. And then I want to have answers. We are supposed to have an answer for the hope that we have in ourselves. Why are you different? Why are you facing cancer in your family and you're not falling apart? Why are you able to do this? Why are you able to do that? It's Jesus. And I know that sounds like a pat answer. It's not a pat answer, it is the answer. Jesus said, I am the bread of life. And he proved it in the feeding of the 4,000 and the feeding of the 5,000. And he said, if you'll eat of me, you'll never be hungry for all eternity. You're going to eat bread and get hungry. You're going to eat this bodacious meal. And I guarantee you, before you go to bed tonight, you'll be snacking on something. Or he's going to turn to her and say, what? And she's going to say, you've already had your meal today, buddy. You eat food, you get hungry again. But if you eat of the bread of life, it will spring up in you like a well of water, gushing forth to provide you with what you need, provide purification for when you need to be purified, and give you something to give somebody else. The next time you say, I can't, I want you to look down and see a basket full, and you're hanging on to it. Next time you say, I don't want to get involved, I want you to realize you're holding on to a basket that says you need to be involved. We don't need fewer people doing more. We need more people doing what Jesus asked them to do. And God's been good enough to provide us with some people. We told God a couple of weeks ago, Sarah's broken down. She can't do all the stuff she used to do, even though her mind says, I'm going to do it. I'm 40 years old. No, she's not 40 years old. Her body's saying, no, you ain't. And God's provided her people to do physical things that she doesn't do anymore. It's hard to realize you can't do things anymore. I don't like it. But sometimes God's telling the old duffers, you need to give the younger ones a chance. You got to get out of the way and let them serve and learn how to do it too. They ate and were satisfied. And they picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. That's Jesus. I can't imagine feeding 16,000, 20,000 people. I can't even imagine it here in Springfield. This is on the seaside of Galilee, sitting on the mountain slopes, and you couldn't see the mountain for all the people sitting on the grass. And the disciples, 12 disciples, moved amongst that crowd of thousands and fed them because Jesus made it possible. Next time Jesus asks you to do something, don't say no. Next time Jesus asks you to do something, don't ignore it. Next time Jesus asks you to do something, don't pass the buck to somebody else. You know, you say to God, me? He said, I'm asking you. If I wanted Connie to do it in the spare time that she's got lots of, I'd ask Connie. But I ask you, remember, there'll always be enough. Because we're connected to Jesus. As he told me earlier, there's a difference between what we need and what we want. Jesus takes care of our needs, but God bless him, he also throws in a lot of wants too. But some of us have mistaken wants for needs. We need to think about that. Let's stand and sing.
Sadness, wherever you've been, come open hearted, let us begin. Come from mercy, oh sinner, from you. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. There's hope for the hopeless, and all those astray. Come sit at the table, come taste the grace. There's rest for the weary, rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can cure. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. Lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are, come as you are, fall in his arms, come as you are. There's joy for the morning, will be still. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame.